So today we're going to look at how visuals in your resources boost your learners' memory and retention by up to 400%. And we're thinking of things like workbooks, slides, any sort of guides, any sort of collateral that you provide to your learners as part of a course, a program, a membership that is there to aid them alongside some sort of video or some sort of live training. So let's jump straight in. So you've got your clients, you've sold out your latest service. And when I say service, I'm talking about anything such as a course program, anything where there's a bit of live element, maybe some videos, and obviously the collateral that runs alongside that. Because keeping your learners engaged is going to be one of your biggest challenges whilst you are on their journey with them. And if you've got really high end considered visual collateral alongside that, it can improve your learners' memory by up to 400%, which I find really staggering. And so this is why it's so important to use visuals in all of your training materials to help people remember what you're teaching them, basically. And here's a little fun fact for you, and this is why it emphasises the fact that visuals are so important, because images are processed 60,000 times faster than text, and 70 to 75 people on average respond better to visual information than text alone. So that just shows you the power of images, and why when you always hear that saying, a picture paints 1,000 words, this is why. So how is this important when it comes to design of all of your resources for your new service? It's because when we see text and visuals together, we use both sides of our brain. So the left side of our brain is used for logic and reasoning and thinking and much, much more. And the right side of your brain is responsible for creativity and imagination and intuition. So why is this so important when it comes to creating all of your learning resources? It's because the combination of text and images are so powerful and it engages both sides of your brain, which means that everything's going to be a lot easier to remember. And if everything's a lot easier to remember, you're providing your learners that seamless experience. And not only that, they're going to feel more motivated and energized if they're actually able to feel like they're doing something and it's actually working. So, what kind of visuals can you use in your resources? Well, it seems very obvious, but you'll be surprised the amount of times that I see this happen is when people aren't using images that are relevant to their audience or the topic you're talking about. So, if you're a coach whose prime audience is women, use photos of women, not men. So just have a little think about when you are searching for the stock images that they are actually relevant to what you're talking about. A really easy way to slip some actual visual details in is to use some icons instead of bullet points. And it's a really great way as well to keep your branding. You can colorize them in your brand colors to add that consistency throughout as well. Another great way is to turn any sort of statistic or information into some sort of graph or diagram, especially if you combine that with a label, because it's a lot easier to understand. And again, you can sneak those brand colours in there. So you can see the impact of it here. It's a lot easier than if I just wrote 65% and the stat on its own. Having that little visual there just really makes that difference and emphasises that key fact. And another great and simple way to use visuals in your resources, for instance, maybe in a guide or maybe even on a slide like this as I'm talking, is to use infographics because, again, going back to what we said earlier, people remember images a lot more than just text alone, and it creates that visual memory. So if you saw this here, and we just had the bullet points and a heading, key parts of the brain, it's not going to be as easy to remember as if you see it all in context with everything joined up to the different areas of the brain. And that just, again, helps create that visual memory. So some examples of that is something that I created for one of my clients recently, which are some resource sheets that run alongside one of their courses. And you can see here, you can see the diagram that I just showed you in the previous example. You can see icons here used as bullet points, and throughout this as well we're using their brand elements just for that extra impact and to add that visual and consistent element to kind of reinforce the fact that it's confident, it's full of value, and it's professional. So that's just a few ways that you can use visuals in your any sort of collateral alongside your course or your program. Let me know what you think. Hope you found that useful.